Thank you. It's Kern here again with Growth Mindset here with Orlando. Today, the topic of discussion is Ethereum, cryptocurrency. It hit a record $3,400 today, and why the drastic increase. It was up, when I saw it, I think it was 14% today. So why the drastic increase today? Orlando, do you wanna start?
I mean, in my opinion, I think the increase has been coming. If you look at it, it's probably up like almost 330% in this year, in the last 5 months. But I think it's more education based out of anything, right? I think you have a lot of people who are more educated, who are educating themselves a lot more in that crypto space. So the understanding of it is better, and so they feel more comfortable investing in it. Whereas a few years ago, only a small amount of people actually had that time to do that or were sold on it. So therefore, if it wasn't really climbing a lot. But I mean, it's no surprise to me when I say that people are educating themselves more, and this is why we're having this run. I mean, we had the pandemic happen last year, and I think a lot of people had a lot of time in their hands. A lot of people got laid off. Yeah, you're getting your stimulus check, and I think people are looking. We're looking and saying, "Well, where can I make the biggest bang for my buck?" And then you have some, then it starts coming out that some people are really making a lot of money in this crypto space. So people start doing their research, and I think that's why you have that influx. Now, when you're looking at Ethereum, they've added some things to their platform in the last couple months or so that I think has actually helped to take off. Like you have, it's powering decentralized finance. It's powering stable coin. It's powering NFT, which is huge right now. There's a lot of people selling their paintings on NFT right now and making a lot of money, right? You're talking about Brady's just started doing that. So that's their technology that's kind of powering all of that. So I think the combination of people not only educating themselves on the crypto space, but also Ethereum using like the NFT and powering stable coins has led to this nice little spike that's kind of happened, because it was flat for about a month or so, right? And now it's having this great run. So that's my take on it. That's why I kind of think that they're having this really good run right now. What do you think?
I agree with actually all those. All those are valid points. But I think I know they revamped Ethereum. There was Ethereum 2.0 in terms of how much they would credit the miners and all of that stuff. And so I feel like that was just a distribution of, meaning equalization of the field, and obviously the added of the NFTs, all that stuff. And it's just added more validity to the Ethereum platform. And with that, I believe you're going to continue to see this this increase, and it may not be to this extent, but I believe it's still going to continue. And this is just my perspective. I'm seeing Bitcoin obviously being like gold because there's a fixed amount of them. However, Ethereum, because of the quickness of the transactions, will be closer to the currency of the future. I know we're mainly talking about Ethereum, but I do want to bring up Dogecoin only because I find history loves irony. When you look at movies and even historical events, for example, a king might commit murder to his wife, and yet they had a son, and the son goes away, just like the Lion King. The son goes away, he comes back to actually rule. And I find that history loves irony. And so I could also see some validity to Dogecoin only because it wasn't made to be a currency. It wasn't made to be, the creators were working to create money. They were just doing it because they enjoyed doing what they do, and they don't They don't manage it in the same way as the other currencies. So I could see that because there wasn't an alternative motive, right?
Mhm.
When you see currencies being devalued in other countries and manipulated, it is almost as if the people that are doing it, the select few that we let control this power over all of us, it is almost like they have their own vendetta or why they would want to do this. And so for Doge, the creators and the people behind it, also it's supposed to keep growing as well at a steady rate. I see that being more valid or becoming more valid with what we see going on with currency manipulation. And so the reason I say history loves irony is because it would be quite ironic if the currency that wasn't made for anything, was made as a joke, wasn't made to store any value, the people, like the people's coin, see value in it and they end up utilizing that as their currency. That's why I say that would be quite ironic that all these other currencies are made for these things, and this one wasn't going after any of those things. And so it seems like people would trust that even more. And so that's why I think that is laughable as well, because that in itself, I think, went up 17% today.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of that. There's a story that goes around, and it always changes what it is on Facebook, but essentially it just says like there's a man on his deathbed and he gifts his son sometimes the story says it's a watch, but this time I'll just say it's the car. I'll use the car analogy, and it's like he tells his son, "Hey, take this my old car and put it in the newspaper and try to go sell it." And somebody comes in and says, "Oh, this is a piece of junk. I'll give you. It's not even worth $100." I give you. He comes back. It's like, "Oh, they offered me $100." It's like, "Okay, now take it to a dealership and see what the dealership offers you." So he takes the car to the dealership, and the dealership is like, "That's not worth nothing. I'll give you like $1,000." So he comes back and tells his dad, and then his dad's like, "Okay, now take it to a vintage shop and see what they tell you." And he takes it to a vintage shop, and it's like, "Man, this is the one of the rarest cars. Uh, I'll give you 400,000 for it, right?" And then he comes back and he tells his dad, and he's like, "Oh, this is what they offer." He's like, "Yes, don't ever let anybody tell you what you're worth. Like it depends on where you go that tells you the worth." So with Dogecoin, it's actually, if people see value in it, then there's value. And it doesn't matter how much you try to devalue it, right?
Mhm.
As long as people see that it's value in it, it'll continue to go up. And I think that we're in a time, we're in a space right now, Kern, where we are actually being rebellious, and we're not letting anybody tell us what we can and cannot do at this point, right? And I think this is why, you know, a lot of rich people are getting very scared because you see a lot of people coming up against cryptocurrency. Oh, this is not good. This is a, I mean, I've heard it from like cryptocurrency is a pyramid scheme to you'll see and you'll learn when this blows all up. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like any other fund. You put your money in, it goes up, it goes down. You risk you're at risk of losing it all, or you're at risk of benefiting big time, right? Just like any other fund. So as long as you do your research and you feel comfortable and you're convicted in um, on what you're investing in, and there's a lot of people who are all in on Dogecoin, right? Like they're in, and I know some guys who got in real early, and that $1,000 from a year ago, that $1,000 right now is about 60, $70,000, right? Um, I told you I feel like maybe it's too late for me to get in, but I mean, when I say that, I'm looking at the growth of it, right? Like if I got into Dogecoin, I don't think I'd want to get in it long term. So for me, I feel it's too late. But if you're somebody who's getting in it for the long term and you want to hold it, I think there's tremendous value there because I think that a lot of people um, see Dogecoin as valuable. And so as long as you have people who see it as valuable, it's going to continue to go up, right? But again, it all depends on if you're trying to hold or what you're trying to do, right? Because that really determines whether you should get in it or not.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've heard this, but Elon Musk tweeted that he's going to put Dogecoin on a rocket from SpaceX, and it's going to be the first cryptocurrency on the moon.
Yeah, I did. But he's an advocate of it, right? He really
Yeah,
pushes it. I mean, I don't know if it's how do I put it? I don't know if it's truth or if it's not true, but yeah, there's been reports out there that he bought a lot of Dogecoin for his son,
yeah.
right? And I know I remember a guy. I don't know if you've seen this tweet, but just talking about Bitcoin, they were saying how one guy was like, "Man, you guys better get out of it. You see how Elon Musk sold all his Bitcoin money," and then he came back and replied. He was like, "Actually, no, I sold a portion of it to show the big corporations that it's actually liquid and you
Mhm.
can sell it and buy it, right?" So I thought that was a pretty big boost, right? Just to say that, right? But I mean, hey, man, when you have a lot of big investors who are eating their words and standing back and saying, "Hey, maybe we should look at this. Maybe it should." Morgan Stanley now saying maybe we should offer this a little portion to our clientels and things of that sort. I mean, you have to really start paying attention, right? Because it's still at the infinite stages where it still can have a huge run, so you can still really make some good money, right? I mean,
Well, even if okay, how about this? And I am trying to be a little bit of the devil's advocate and play both
absolutely.
sides. You say it's too big for you to get in, but it's less than I think it
I
might
didn't
be.
say it was too big to get in.
No, you said Dogecoin might be too late for you to get in.
No, because I said because I didn't want to invest in it long term,
Okay.
right? Like so,
Well,
so if I was in it, if I wanted to invest in it, and I in my mind I said I want to hold it for 2, 3, 4 years. I'm going to hold it long term. Then I would get in right now. But for me, I would just want to get in and get out on something like that, right? Like I feel like it's a little volatile for me. I'd rather take my chances because I got Ethereum and I have Bitcoin. I'd rather take my chances in that. I'm actually looking at other cryptos that are a lot cheaper that you put a couple $100 in, and if it hits kind of like Dogecoin did, then you make big money. I think that's what a lot of people are starting to do right now. Is starting to look for those little hidden gems. I mean, but again, like we talked about it in other episodes, like what they're doing in the states, and they're really bringing down the taxes on this, and how it's reported. I think that's the reason why Bitcoin's kind of fell a little flat right now. Um, and it's kind of going down a little bit. I think it's because a lot of people are selling their assets just because of that. But I think it's temporary, right? I think it's going to go back up. It's a time to buy right now.
yeah.
Uh,
And when there's the fixed amount that are out there,
mhm.
the price is going to skyrocket on that,
Absolutely.
right? There's going to be more of the talk of the comparison. Oh, this is why it should be like gold because there's only a fixed amount out there, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think Ethereum still it has some room to run. I would like them to cool off because when things skyrocket, whenever you see the angle like this,
Mhm.
that's when you see more volatility and people are like, oh, it wasn't worth up here, it's actually worth down here, and then you see these
Yeah.
shakes, right? And so I would rather see a steadier increase. Let's say it rose steadily 2% per month. At the end of the year it's still up 24, 25%.
Mhm.
Right? So I would rather see that than see the bigger swings, 10% today, 8% tomorrow, down 11%. Like I would rather see the steady than the quick. Um, but I think so. One thing I've learned just in terms of investing, this has just been my experience, is anything you're going to watch, if you're watching at a certain point, um, let's just say the equivalent of the top five stocks that you may be watching, you should probably put some money in there because you're going to be watching it. There's going to be no value for you, whether it goes up or down. You're not risking anything. But when you're watching it, you're not the only person watching it. There's other people watching it. And Elon Musk isn't the only one tweeting about this.
Yeah.
Mark Cuban tweeted about it
Yeah.
and has been talking about it, and there's been another big celebrity as well. And so I I still think that these all have room to run, and I think people need to have one. I also think that it's like a new market. Cryptocurrency is a market,
Mhm.
and you can get in all these cryptocurrencies. But then let's just say there's 100 cryptocurrencies, and there's the top 10. What do those other 90 do that the top 10 don't do? And people can sit and wait, but people are impatient as well,
Oh, absolutely.
right? Just like GameStop, all that stuff. People are too impatient. They put it there for 5 days and then it's gone. But I think these currencies have validity. It'll be interesting to see what the government comes down in terms of tax. However, even if they're going to tax it as capital gains, well, the states has different rules than Canada, but the states,
Mhm.
if you kept it less than a year, it's taxed as income. But if you keep it for more than a year, you get the long-term capital gains benefit as well. Um, and I think they're more likely to put it in the long-term capital gains benefit in the states if they're going to increase the tax rate on capital gains, especially, right? Um, but I think there is validity with the amount of money that has been printed. There is some validity to having these currencies, and I don't. This is me personally. I think my part of my portfolio needs to be made up of these to have that exposure to these assets that aren't exposed to beta, right? In what the market is actually doing. And these can be assets that I put aside. Yes, they could be quote unquote lost. However, the reward could be huge in 5 years, right? Um, Companies have already started taking Bitcoin. I think there's going to be more companies taking Bitcoin. And even if the companies say, you know how initially when people were talking about, oh, Bitcoin, what if the companies put 1 or 2% of their assets in Bitcoin? That's a lot of their assets in quote unquote Bitcoin. What if they said, you know what, we got billions, if not trillions of dollars. Why don't we spread this over the top 10, you know what I mean, and diversify some of the risk of our book. And so they still putting assets in the top 10, you know what I mean? And they have Bitcoin, they have Ethereum, they have Dogecoin, they have what else? What is it? Litecoin, and all these things. They have a couple of them, and they just diversify that way rather than putting it all in one, right?
No,
Because
absolutely.
because how are you supposed to pick a winner, right? So then that leads to in my opinion, the new funds being made. Okay, well, you can have Bitcoin funds, right, that do all this and this.
Yeah,
So but diversification is the key. I think
yeah.
some of these are going to shake out and you're going to see that they don't go up. The other one that I was looking at was Ripple as well. I know Ashton Kutcher is a supporter of it, but I don't care in those terms. But Ripple has kind of crept up. I've been watching it for a couple of years, and it was between 20 and 50 cents. Then they had a lawsuit, and the lawsuit went away and went down to 30%, and then it shot up, and it's $1.50, and it was 30 cents. So it's like you can't sit on the sidelines and keep watching these things because it will either break your heart that you should have been in it, or it'll fall and you'll say, "Oh, well, I wasn't in it." But if you weren't in it, you also lost the time of you watching it that whole time, right? And so time has a value as well. So I would rather put a little bit in a couple of these. Hopefully, one of them's a winner. Hopefully, all of them are winners. But uh,
Absolutely.
throughout time, the amount of money that I'm putting in these, I could obviously live without. And it would be even better that this was an investment that paid off very well in terms of um, my net worth and my family's as well benefiting.
But let's be real. Like you can't retire on just a 9 to 5. I mean, even here in Canada, you work your 9 to 5, but you're putting money into your RSP, and at the end of the day, that RSP is being invested for your future. So without investments, you really can't live the retired life that you want. So why not start investing in yourself and make sure that you get some of that passive income? Let your money make money, right? As opposed to just sitting in the bank.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, I was gonna say there's nothing wrong with taking whatever it is, $25 a check, $50 a check, $100 a check, sitting and build your cash. We keep talking about be comfortable with just sitting in cash. You can build your cash, and as your cash continues to grow, and then you see the market go red, and once you feel like this is a good buying time, then you go and you buy those stocks that you were looking at, right? And so you might be sitting on $300. You might be sitting on 1,000 before you feel you want to get in, but at least you have the cash in hand ready to buy when the market dips, right? Because ultimately in your mind, you need to know, you might have these funds, but in your mind, you got to know, okay, I want to buy it at this price because I feel it's overvalued or whatever it is, whatever analysis you're using, right? And so
Mhm.
when it drops to that, it's like we said, you have to be comfortable with sitting on cash, because when it drops there, because it will, then you have to be ready to just go and just purchase that fund.
Yeah,
Right.
and that investment, I don't think of it as gambling. That investment is in yourself and in your future self as well.
Mhm.
Um, so I would separate the two mindsets, though. As you said, you may want to get in quicker yourself. Some people have a longer term
Mhm.
risk tolerance for this stuff. However, with my retirement money, like I want that to be consistent. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
want a steady hand on that. I don't want a hand that is like, oh, Dogecoin, oh, this, oh, Ripple, oh, Litecoin, oh, Bitcoin. Like, I don't want that hand on my retirement. I want my retirement to be consistent. And then maybe with, let's just say your play money, right? Then you might take on a more risk adverse scenario. But
You see that's where you and I kind of differ a little bit, right? Because I feel like my retirement money is it's in the mutual funds, pretty conservative. I feel like 75, 80% of that stays there. I don't want to play with it. Whatever I do on the stock market where I'm buying stocks, that is my play money. Now, if I make enough and that turns a part of my retirement money, then great. But me personally, I don't want to play with my retirement money and then
mhm.
I hit a bad spell with a stock and then I lose it all, because I've seen a friend or two where that happens. So I always try to say to myself, my retirement money is the vanilla. It's if I'm going to put it in the stock market, it's straight vanilla. Like I'm just putting it in like the Teslas and Coca-Cola, where it pays out a dividend and you're not going to get a lot of growth, but it's very steady. So it's something just like that, very plain Jane, right? And so what I'm doing with the crypto, that's really like my play money. So if it did go and it just shot down and it did terrible and I lost it all, at least that's not my retirement money. Now, if it hits big and it goes, then I'll take some money off the top and then put that a little bit to the side on my retirement, and that's just that'll be great. But that's my philosophy, and that's how I've always kind of seen it. Just because I just don't want to be caught with my pants down, right?
No, well, I think you might have misunderstood because that's what I meant.
Okay.
That's why I want the steady hand on my retirement,
Okay.
and play money is play money,
Mhm.
right? So I was trying to separating the two, and that would be my preference, right? Everyone has their own risk tolerance, but that would be mine as well. Is on my retirement money, I want that there,
Yeah.
right? I don't want that to have huge swings. So um, that's it for me, I think, on this topic, but I'm sure it will come up and we'll have another one. Thank you very much. Please like, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts, where you think the prices may go as well in the direction, or what are you doing with your Bitcoin, any of your investments and your strategies. So feel free to like, subscribe, comment down below. Thank you for tuning in to Growth Mindset.